Okay, so taking a look at the problem on the board. We have two graphs on the board here. This graph and that graph. This graph equation, in case you can't see it, is y less than or equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 1. And this graph is y is greater than 3 over 2x minus 1. Take a look at these two graphs. What do you notice about the lines on these two graphs? Okay.
The greater symbol without the dotted line is dotted.
Okay, now look at the color of the line, and one is solid and the other one is what? It's cut in half or it's dotted, right? So if you look at this line, it's a dotted line. Okay, so those two lines are different. One's solid, one's dotted. What do you notice about this inequality and that inequality? What's the difference with those two inequalities? You notice that one inequality has a line underneath it, and the other one doesn't. This one has a line underneath it. If you have a line underneath, you're going to have a solid line. If you don't have a line underneath, it's going to be a dotted line. So those are the two things I want to make sure that you understand from these two equations. So let's take a look at how they came up with that equation. So let me write that equation again for you again. Y is greater than 3 over 2x minus 1, and y is less than or equal to negative 3 2x plus 1. Remember what we talked about last semester? We did this a bunch of times. And then I gave you the equation. Y equals mx plus b, where this b was telling me this is where I begin, right? So this is where I begin. In this equation, 1, so on your graph, go ahead and put 1 right here on your graph, because that is where I begin. Okay, so I begin with the y. So this is my y, but it's also my b. So b and y kind of go together. That's where I begin. This number right here tells me what? Tells me that I have to move. Okay, so now I have to move. Because this is a negative, am I going to go up or am I going to go down? Down, excellent. So I'm going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3. This bottom number tells me I have to go to the left or to the right.
Right.
To the right. Do you agree with that? Yes. So go over 2, and now I'm on that point. And then you just draw your red line and connect the two dots together. And it's a solid line because you have an equal sign right here in the inequality. The other graph, again, I'm going to begin at negative 1. So on your graph, put a dot on negative 1, because that's where I'm going to start. Again, here is my y, which is also my b. I'm starting on that line. This number right here tells me I have to move. And then the top number tells me to go up or down. There's a positive sign there, so I'm going to go which direction? Up. So I'm going to go up how many? 3. 1, 2, 3. You can double check that you did it correctly. You should have 3 humps. 1, 2, 3. So that's what you needed to do. This bottom number tells me I have to go which direction? Left or right? Which one is it, left or right? We always want to go right, okay? And you notice that line is a dashed line because there is no equal sign underneath. With this one right here, we have an equal sign. Okay, so that's why it is dashed. Now the only thing that's new than before is this shaded area is yellow. This shaded area is yellow. How do they do that? Well, let's take a look at problem 2 to really go over at how they decided to make that yellow. In problem 2, we start off with this equation. And what you want to do is change it to it looks like that equation, where that you have the equal sign. That's what we did all last semester. We graphed this type of equation. So just like I showed it in the 2 examples above, I'm going to take this inequality and change it to that just so I can make the graph. This is more familiar to you than what we've done. And again, there is my -2. That is where I'm going to begin. If my y equals mx plus b, b is where I begin. So, -2, I'm going right there on my graph. My slope, let's write it right here, y equals x minus 2. Right here, there's an invisible what? A 1. So that's actually 1 over 1, which tells me I need to go up 1 over 1. Excellent. Up 1 over 1. I can do it again. Up 1 over 1. So now I have 3 dots, and I draw my line. But notice, what kind of line did they draw? A solid line or a dashed line? A dashed line. Who can tell me why is it dashed? It has no equal sign. Excellent. There's my inequality, no equal sign. So now it's going to be a dashed line. Okay, you can make it a solid line if you use a pencil, then go back with your eraser and just erase certain parts on the line. Now you have your line. Now we're going to take a look at why did they shade in the yellow part on that part of the line. Let's see what they did right here. What do you notice that they did with that equation? Before you give me the answer. On your graph, go ahead and put a circle in that center. That point is located at 0, 0. So here was my original equation. Like I said, take 10 seconds. I'll give you 20 seconds. Talk to the person next to you. What did they do with that 0, 0 in the equation at the bottom? So they took this 0, 0, and like you guys said, substituted that in to the inequality. And what they found out was this. You put 0 in for the y, 0 in for the x, and you solve it. 0 minus 2 is -2. Bring it down to 0. Now you have to answer this question. Is 0 greater than -2? In other words, is 0 bigger than -2? If you say yes, then you are shading in the yes side, the yellow. If you said no, then I'd be shading in that side. So if 0, 0 works, you shade that side. If 0, 0 doesn't work, you shade the other side.